Hello, family. I hope you all are very well. I feel like it's been a while, and if this is your first time, welcome into the Be More Balanced community, where I am your host, Jalen, and this is where we get real, we get raw, and we get balance in the space. So, today's topic, it's in line or in sync with the fact that I feel like I haven't been around for a while, meaning I feel like we haven't chatted, and maybe it's been a week or two. But what has been on my heart to speak about is, well, first of all, we're in Gemini season. This is my season, so shout out to all my Geminis out there. But I felt the need to talk about not wanting to talk. I was on Twitter the other day and somebody tweeted something like, am I the only one that feels nonverbal, got an attitude? They listed all these things. I didn't relate to the having that attitude part, but feeling the nonverbal. And I hadn't labeled myself as that, and I still don't, but I've over the last, I'd say, week and a half, really 2 weeks, I haven't wanted to communicate, like talk, text, call, voice note, whatever, like just showing up vocally, verbally. And that's not because anybody did anything to me or I felt any type of way. It's not something I can put a label on. So today I wanted to talk about how it is okay for you, if you're that friend who is typically super social or always has something to say. Typically they say Geminis are really chatty. We're always having something to say, something to communicate, something to verbalize. But that's not always the case. And I find that even if you're not a Gemini and you don't, have Gemini placements, sometimes there can be this anxiety that we feel, or I've felt, I'll speak for myself, when it comes to just not wanting to speak or respond. The phrase when, they might have said, you might have heard people say back in the day, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say it at all. I would even take it a step further to say, if you don't have anything intentional to say, or if you don't feel called to say something, then don't say it at all. Meaning, if you feel like you are responding just because somebody else has sent you something, let's say it's a text, right? We live in the age of not only information, but rapid response. And sometimes we may feel like, oh, such and such text me. They know I got my phone on me. It's been some hours, or it's even been a day, and you're feeling like, damn, I owe them a response. But do you? Do you owe them a response? Now, I feel like maybe you owe them a response to say, hey, I'm not in the space to talk about this right now. I'm going to get back to you later. But I really think it is important and essential for us to acknowledge the fact that even though we live in this rapid, fast-paced, communicative society, we can give ourselves grace in how we respond. And a lot of the times I'm finding out, I figured out, especially this week, the last 2 weeks, when I didn't respond to somebody or a thing, when I eventually did, if I waited 3 or 4 days, I was able to gather my thoughts and be much more intentional with the thing, right? The other thing I found myself, I think goes hand in hand with communicating, is being on social media. Whether you're posting or not, we're digesting information. A mutual friend and follower of mine on Twitter, she put me on to the fact that, we just entered Jupiter in Gemini. Jupiter's in Gemini now, right? Now, I don't have an extensive knowledge of what that means exactly, but I do understand Jupiter, which is expansion, which is philosophy, right? Which is one of those planets that's about luck, right? Now, Gemini, I do know that's communication, that's community, that's childlike things, that's the mind, that's air energy, right? And so we can think about those two things together, what that might look like. And so, what she put me on to, or what I'm learning, is that with Jupiter now in Gemini, the type of information that we receive on any platform and in any space, we really want to be intentional with our consumption. And I think it goes hand in hand with the timeliness of this discussion or this topic about how you do not always have to respond. Just like you don't always have to digest information that the media is feeding us, your social media is feeding you, songs are feeding you, because we get information from songs too, right? And so I unknowingly, not even knowing that Jupiter was now in Gemini today that I'm recording this video, but for the last week and a half, I took the time to detox from social media. I wasn't on my Instagram and my Twitter, which I'm normally on, which is, to me, Twitter's a very Gemini-like energy, because you are communicating via words all the time. Instagram's a little different because it's a picture. Sometimes you write captions, but Twitter is simply communication and information, that Gemini-like energy. So I want to empower you and give you the opportunity to, if you're feeling like there's a lot of information coming in the works, or a lot of uploads or downloads, which is a beautiful thing, a lot of air energy, a lot of mind energy, because not only is it Jupiter in Gemini, but the sun is in Gemini too, right? Which is beautiful. But if you don't give yourself that time to reset and come back to your own center and yourself, when we are receiving all this information, or text messages or calls from other people, even though our now human nature is so quick to say, oh, I need to pick up the phone and call such and such, it's been a couple days, or I need to write this person back, I this DM this person sent me, it was about X, Y, and Z, they asked this question. But it's like, if your intention doesn't have harm or hurt behind it, your weight, your reasoning to be still, to be in your own mind, soul, and body, to me, is reason enough not to respond. And I believe that this is such an important message during Gemini season, and especially with Jupiter in Gemini, because we are going to accelerate at such a rapid pace that can be very lucky. And to me, it's not really luck, because you're putting intentionality behind it. You're putting efforts and work behind it, right? And discipline and discernment behind it, where whatever you hope to manifest or move forward in will be in a more balanced way, right? More balanced way, because Jupiter gonna give us whatever we want, right? And sometimes receiving whatever you want, or whatever you're tapped into or responding into, isn't always the most balanced of things. But when we take our time this Gemini season, and this is coming from a Gemini, it's okay if you're feeling a little bit more introverted and a little less extroverted. Sometimes folks have this perception that Geminis are super extroverted individuals. And I would say that we are extroverted introverts. We are intentionally open and expressive when it matters the most. When we can formulate something that means something, even if that's in flow, in the wind, right? But whatever we spread when the wind is winding, blowing, it's blowing seeds out so that whatever lands, it can grow in intentionality. So I am gonna leave y'all here with this message and say, this Gemini season, this Jupiter and Gemini season, let your message be heard and spread, not on deaf ears, but on ears that are intentionally ready to hear your message. You're sharing something with intentionality, not just because somebody say you need to say something, but because you want something to be said. Your soul is ready to speak, and the words that you share are not falling on deaf ears. They are falling into the fertile grounds, the Jupiterian grounds that are ready for the intentional message that everybody's receiving. I love y'all so much. I like y'all so much. Thank you for being here. Thank you for taking the time out of your day to tune in to my message, these words, and I hope that something intentionally sows a seed into your soul. I'll talk to y'all next time.